In this video, I will talk about variable naming conventions. However, there is a catch. Bash doesn't force you with any strict variable naming conventions, but developers around the world follow the best practices for naming their variables. In this video, I will show you 6 different rules for naming your variables. So let's get started. The first rule which I am going to talk about is naming your variables using alphabets and numbers. Naming variables using alphabets only is very common in bash scripting, but adding numbers along with alphabets will add extra clarity in your coding. Also, it is important to remember that bash is a case-sensitive scripting language, meaning if you name a variable with all small letters and another variable with all capital letter, they will be considered as two different variables. Now I will demonstrate an example of this rule. First, I will create a script named var alphabet.sh. For this, I will use the nano command. Now I will edit my script. I will start with the shebang line. Now I will name a variable with all alphabets and small letters. I will use the name var. Now I will initialize the variable with the value of 10. Now here is a catch. It is important to remember that when initializing a variable, you cannot give any extra space before the equal sign and after the equal sign. Next, I will name another variable with all capital letter alphabets. I will define this variable with a string, so I'll use quotation marks, and over here I'll write something like var contains all capital letter alphabets. And next I'll define another variable which will contain alphabets and numbers. I'll name it something, for example, var 123, and I'll initialize the variable with the value. Let's say, for example, I'll define it with a float value of 0.5. Now I'm done with defining my variables, so I'll just print them to show it in the terminal. For this, I will use the echo command. To access the variables, I have to use the $sign. The values of the variable will be displayed line by line as I have written the echo commands. Now I am done with the script, so I'll save the script using Ctrl S and exit using Ctrl X. Now it's time to execute the script to see the output, but before that I'll provide the executable file permission. For this I'll use the chmod command. Now I will execute the script. As you can see, all the value of the variables are displayed serially line by line, and the script runs perfectly without any error, which means my naming is done correctly. Now I'll talk about the second rule, which is you have to avoid using numbers at the beginning of the variable name. Now it is a must, because if you use numbers at the beginning of the variable name, the code will show error at the execution time. Now I'll demonstrate an example for this rule. At first, I'll create a script named var number.sh. For this, I'll use the nano command. Over here, I'll edit my script. I will start with the shebang line. Now I'll define a variable in the wrong convention, which is I'll start with numbers. For example, 1, 2, 3 var. I will define this variable with the value wrong convention, wrong naming convention. Now I will define another variable named var123, which is the correct naming convention. So I will define the variable with the value correct naming convention. Now for the first variable, when I print the value, it will show me an error because the naming convention is wrong. And for the second variable, it will give the correct output. So to see the outputs in a terminal, I have to print it. So I'll use the echo commands. Now I will save the script using Ctrl S and exit using Ctrl X. Now I will execute the script to see the output, but first I will provide the executable file permission using the chmod command. Now I will execute my script. As you can see, in the line 3, it throws an error which is command not found, and that is for the variable with the wrong convention. In the second line, it shows the output correct naming convention, which is for the variable var123. That is in the correct naming convention. Now in the third rule, I will talk about a very important aspect, which is if your variable name has multiple words, it is a best practice to use underscores rather than using white spaces. If you use a white space to separate multiple word variables, it will throw an error. So now I will demonstrate it using script. So at first I will create a script named var_.sh. Now I'll write my script. So I'll start with the shebang line. First I will define the correct method of variable naming. I have defined a variable named var name1. Here there are two separate words, so I will separate them using underscores, which is the correct method. I will define this variable with a string which says correct naming method. Now I will define a second variable which has the name var name2. Now this is a wrong convention as I have separated the two words using white space. Now to see the output, I will just print them using the echo command. Now I'll save my script using Ctrl S and exit using Ctrl X. It is time to execute the script. I will use the // notation to execute the script. As you can see, it gives an error in line 5, which is it cannot find the command or the variable. In this case variable, which is here in line number 5, var name2, as I have defined it in a wrong method. Next, it will print the var name1, which is defined in the correct way in line number 7, that is correct naming method, and it cannot print the var name2 variable as it was defined in a wrong way. Now talking about rule 4, which is you cannot give any white space on either sides of the assignment operator or the equal operator. If you provide any white space on either side of the assignment operator, the bash interpreter will treat it as a command rather than a variable. So I will demonstrate this using a script. Now I will create a script named var underscore whitespace.sh. I will edit my script over here. So I will start with the shebang line. Now I will define three variables. At first I will start with var1 and I will intentionally provide white space before the assignment operator, and I will define the variable with the value of 10. Next I will define another variable var2 and I will provide a white space after the assignment operator and define the variable with the value 20. Now Both the variables var1 and var2 have been initialized in the wrong convention. Now I will define another variable var3 which will be defined in the correct way, that is, it won't have any white space on either sides of the assignment operator. So I will define the var3 with the value 30. Now I will print the var to see the output. To access the variables, I will use the $sign. I will print them in a serial manner, starting from var1 to var2 and var3. I will save the script using Ctrl S and exit using Ctrl X. Now it is time to execute the script. First, I will provide the executable permission. Now I will execute the script. As you can see that in line 3 and line 4, the first two variables naming isn't correct, so it gives an error. And for the last variable, which is var3, it gives the value as output. Now I will show you the fifth rule, which is you have to avoid using special characters except underscores when naming variables. So I will demonstrate it using a script. So at first I will create a script named var special character. Now I will edit my script. I will start with the shebang line. Now I will define variables with wrong naming convention, that is, I will use some special characters with the variable name. For example, I will define one variable using the underscore character, which is the correct way. I will define it with the string, that is correct naming convention. Now I will save the script using Ctrl S and exit using Ctrl X. Now I will execute the script. First I will provide the executable permission. Now I will execute the script. As you can see, it gives error for the first 4 variables because of the naming, which contains special characters. Now I'll get back to the script again, print this variable which is named in the correct way. So I'll use the echo command. I don't need to use echo commands for these variables because it is already named in the wrong convention and the interpreter cannot access these variables. Now I'll save the script using Ctrl S and exit using Ctrl X. Now I will execute the script again to see the updated output. Now I will talk about the last rule, the sixth rule, which is you have to avoid using reserved keywords or built-in command names for your variable names. Now there are a couple of reserved keywords and command names in Bash, which I will show you. I have opened my browser. Now I'll type reserved keywords in Bash. It will take me to the GNU official reference manual. So I'll open this link. And here is a list of the reserved keywords in Bash. These are some of the reserved words which you cannot use for variable naming. Also, you cannot use the command names which are already reserved for shell built-in commands and system commands for your variable names. So this was all about naming conventions which I have covered in this video. From now on, use the best practices used by Bash programmers to name your variables. If you want to know further, please refer to the article provided in the video description below. Thank you for watching.